Ladies and gentlemen, there is yet another wonderful new video that has been uploaded by Frontier Developments about Planet Zoo, and in this video there is a whole bunch of new stuff in there, a lot of new animations of animals, loads of new analysis, loads of new details about the game, and we are having a look onto this video now. As always, I'm not allowed to just re-upload the whole video, so I am playing the video now for a bit, and then I'll stop it and we look into what they said or if there is anything special about it. But since I know you're really looking forward always to what they say as well, I'll try to shut up for the most times when they are talking, because this video is all about talking. So let's jump in now and hit the play button for the first couple of seconds.
It's one thing I really love about the games that Frontier Development makes is that there's a basis in science and in nature. And that comes back in Planet Zoo.
In Planet Zoo, we're really trying to get the most authentic looking animals as we possibly can. And that's not just in the way they look, but that's also in the way they behave, the way they animate, the way they sound.
The benchmark, oddly enough, was set quite clearly with Planet Coaster. We've researched very, very heavily. We've engaged with experts, both in zoos and within biology departments.
Alright, so that's the first step we have to stop at, and this is obviously one of the coolest things you can see from a backstage story. I'm not an expert in rigging and in animating animals or whatnot, but I have some basis knowledge from doing animations in Blender, and I have also some knowledge about doing stuff in Maya, which I believe the program over here should be where they are doing stuff in. The real bit in here, which is super interesting, is if you can see, there is not only, like, as I can click here to a few things, you can see that there are some bones, some areas where the animals are kind of tackling the ground, and you know, all this kind of stuff is really nicely done. You can see the color coding for left, right, left back, right back, I guess it's what they are up for. But you can also see this little display over here on the side. I'm not entirely sure what exactly this is, to be honest. As I said, I'm not an expert, but I believe this is somewhat of the control about the animation and what they're doing, so kind of to gas back what the other, like the counterpart, is doing. Later on in this video you can really see those two lines in action, like how this really turned out to be kind of being animated in the way. But it's really interesting to see here that they are going really deep into animating stuff. I mean, it's not super interesting in terms of new stuff, because this is clearly like every game would be developed and animated, but you can clearly see how much detail goes into the animation of the animals. Anyways, let's go on and look into the next very interesting bit here.
Our animation team have studied hours and hours of video footage. The character modeling.
Sorry, we need to just move slightly back here, because this is really interesting. When I was first looking, actually I watched the trailer like 3 times or so until I was spotting what actually was going on here, and this is the reason, why I want to zoom in here. Why can't I just, there we go, here's the zoom. So what you can see over here is that this is, I was guessing that this animation is just a little lion pup, I don't know, you know, tumbling around. But all of a sudden I saw, well, that's potentially not a lion, right? And is this a confirmation that this is another animal? At this very moment in time, I'm not really sure if this is true, because it should be a leopard, right? Is it, wait a second, is this even the English word for it? I guess it is leopard in English as well, right? Because I am fairly sure that it should be leopard. Yeah, it's leopard. Is it the leopard? Because this is definitely not a lion. What is you know, swimming down here? But funny enough, this is actually a swimming animation that's being made over here, and I think this is definitely then a leopard here, because you can actually also see the texture on his left foot here, and also on the arm. So it's definitely not a lion, right? This was really interesting when I was seeing that in a second bit. Unfortunately, it's all a bit, I don't know, blurred out in the background, so you can't really see what the data name is or the file name is or whatever. That would have been really cool, but I love that they're even going that deep, like in actual swimming animations for the little puppies, which is awesome. But yeah, we're gonna take a deeper look into that later on.
The character modeling team have done an exceptional job, really looking at all of the details of the animals. And you bring all these things together and layer on all the behaviors, and you end up with authentic.
Oh, wait a second. Maybe I have to revert what I just said, because these are clearly lions, right? And they have the same. Okay, never mind. So forget about what I just said. This is definitely then a lion, and they only used leopard footage, maybe of like swimming, I guess. So I mean, it's a big cat, but I don't know if they have different swimming behaviors. But maybe this is just a little bit of a I don't know, fake screenshot, because clearly when you're recording these kind of behind the scenes videos, you're clearly not recording while this is like the actual daily business. You're kind of setting it up so that you don't show off stuff that you know potentially don't like to be shown off here. But what I especially like about this one over here is that you can see they use, obviously in the editing tools, also a little bit of an incline in the background. So I don't know if this is like in a sphere or whatnot, but I like that they kind of already try to have different terrain constraints. I think it's basically kind of preparing for terrain. Anyways, let's move on a little bit. I just wanted to make sure that I don't talk wrong stuff to you guys.
Behaviors, and you end up with authentic looking and behaving animals.
All right, stop it. This shot over here is insane for two reasons. So the first reason is there's a floating light. It doesn't need to float. No, actually, this doesn't seem to be a floating light, and this is exactly why I want to point it out. So first of all, yes, they kind of didn't look into it exactly, but is this a wire to the right-hand side here? It seems to be a wire, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. It could well be just a spot, but it could also be like something for heating or stuff, because it has this kind of, I don't know what this is, opening over here, but this seems to be like a wire or something else like this. That would be super interesting. Anyhow, the second more important bit about what we can clearly say is that this hippo over here had some fun in the mud, right? So it's very dirty indeed, but only on the lower part. I love that they have, we talked about that in the other analysis as well, that there is like an animal that has been only wet until the half of this animal which has been in the water, but this is also with like being dirty, which is awesome. So maybe this even means not only that they have water to get dry, to get clean in, but also maybe our zookeepers have to clean the animals every now and then. That would be awesome to see. Anyways, let's continue over here.
What we wanted the animals to feel like was that there was a reason for them to be there in the player's zoo, and that they would each bring their own uniqueness and richness to the player's experience. So we identified early on that we want each animal to have its own bespoke rig and its own bespoke set of animations. This involved researching each animal individually and really identifying and honing in on what makes that animal unique to other.
All right. So here we need to stop again. Just going over here. First of all, I love the little Disney reference here. This is definitely a little bit of a nod to Scar versus Mufasa from Lion King. The color scheme is kind of chosen this way, and I know potentially it could be only two different color schemes, but hell, this is just too obvious. Like a fighting scene of two lions just close to the release of The Lion King, like kind of a real life action movie. This is super nice. I love this little bit here. I'm fairly certain that this was a little bit of an Easter egg, and I love this Easter egg, to be honest. He seems to love Smint quite a bit, and Buzz Lightyear is also with us. So also this seems to be like a Disney-ish corner over here, and these guys seem to have a nod to that. So yeah, clearly this is done. But you know, back to Planet Zoo. Very interesting, the info we got from the talk. So every individual animal has its own set of animations, and as far as I understood this from our studio visit and also from the different interviews, it's not only that it's per species, it's actually per animal. So each individual animal in your zoo has some, and at least individual animation sets, which is awesome. So maybe they have like a bunch of sets for lions, for example, and I don't know, face movement and fighting movement. If they'd be able to make kind of it a little bit of a coincidence, which kind of set is mixed together, that's awesome. That should be really making the whole thing appeal way more natural than, for example, what happened in Jurassic World Evolution. As much as I like the fight scenes and the fighting in Jurassic World Evolution, it gets fairly boring after a time, because they have pretty much, they are just staged in a way. However, it looks awesome, it looks great, and there are like a million different animations in, which is cool, but at the end of the day, it's always like the same. Once two animals that are actually two dinosaurs that want to fight or need to fight or will fight, kind of reach their own radius, so that they kind of are close to each other, they start fighting, and then kind of you can really see how this kind of little fight scene comes into play. It's really cool though that they are already able to make this completely free in a completely player created environment, but this seems to be brought to a whole new level now in Planet Zoo, and they will talk about this even more in this video. By the way, as a sucker for design and drawing, I like that they have the bamboo pets over here, actually the Wacom pets over here. Love it.
One of the most exciting things about working with these animals is to look into what makes each of these animals special. The Indian peafowl, for example, has some really unique behaviors, unlike anything else in the animal kingdom. So we will go to the extremes of making sure every feather in the tail of the peacock has its own bone that the animators can use, so everything behaves exactly as you'd expect it to.
Okay, sorry, we need to stop here because this is the real shit. I mean, come on, that animation looks absolutely stunning. I have no words for it. Like, I actually remember when this was shown the first time, the West Indian people in the newsletter, people were only having this small image of it, and they told us that this was still in development back then. And the increase of detail and what they've done since then is just insane. And I don't know, it's really, really, really beautiful to look at. And yeah, I don't know. The only little bit of a, downside, I don't want to even call that a downside, but as we were getting the first image, we were all actually thinking that this animal might be roaming around free in your zoo. I don't know. It appears though that this seems to be at least a little bit of an enclosure. However, they just put a fountain in, I don't know, because I can't really tell if this is like a bench over here or whatever this should be. It would be so cool if the peafowl would be roaming around free in the zoo. However, it looks a little bit at least as if that wouldn't be the case, but you never know. Yeah, we just keep on hoping. But the cool bit is also, I wanted to point out, we have some more statues over here, and the cool thing about statues is that we do have a lot of them. So we have this, it seems like a lion statue. This is definitely a hippo, and we have like a deer kind of ish statue over here. Again, we have a million variations of flowers already in here to spot, which is awesome. But I don't really want to talk too much about this. I love this tree, by the way, and yeah, quite a few things in here. I do actually love to see how good this looks. But yeah, let's move on to the next part and not waste our time at this little screenshot over here.
All animals have their basic needs. Need to drink, to have food, to have space. Some of them have social requirements, some of them don't. Some of them actually want to very much live a solitary existence. So you've got a number of things that you have to balance from a welfare point of view, which is fairly common to all animals, and some of them are very, very specific. We also...
Okay, stop it. I just want to stop here for a brief moment because I wanted to highlight how freaking amazing the lighting is. This seems to be like, I don't know if it's late in the afternoon or early morning. Not really sure what exactly this is, but since we were talking about the variations of statues, I wanted to quickly point out that this is, again, I mean, by now we know that this is the same zoo, but the cool bit about here is we have the deer statue we've just seen, we have the lion statue we've just seen. I don't know exactly what this is over here, but if I'm not completely wrong, this area over here should have been then the peafowl enclosure, but it doesn't seem to be like one now, so maybe it's changed over time for the sake of showing something. I was always, the whole time I was trying to spot if I can get a gasp if there is like a peafowl on here or whatever, but I couldn't really find it. However, what I did find here is this statue, and I believe this is a dodo, right? I mean, why is there a dodo in here? I'm not too sure why, but I like that they kind of give us this, I don't know, little ancient animal thing. I don't know why this is interesting, but maybe this is kind of a museum over here, because they're like, I don't know if these are education posters or whatnot is hanging in here. So it could be cool if this is like something only for education. That would be seriously awesome. And then we have a stinky bin over here. A little bit of a detail, but I like that this is happening. So that means that you know, staff members need to clean that all of a sudden, because this is definitely a bit of a stinky bin over here. Okay, these are the bits I found in this image. So let's continue what they have to say.
Set our zoos in various biomes around the planet, and where you build your zoo makes a big difference to the actual welfare of the animals.
Okay, before we hear what Lisa has to say, we just go 2 times back into this, let me just see, into this picture over here. There's a good reason why I want to go into this picture. So if you haven't seen my analysis about the scenario mode, you should definitely check that out, because I spent a whole lot of work into showing you how the scenario mode will most likely be looking, and I got a lot of evidence, and also this video is showing it a bit. And I just wanted to enforce what I said there with this picture over here, since I was already telling you that most of us, you know, I think the most realistic thing about this zoo over here is that this has been a place in the savannah, in a South African or African savannah, that has been handed over to you to make sure that the animals that live in this area over here are contained nicely and maybe brought back to like a good health or so, because I'm really imagining that these animals have been endangered, and so you make sure that you give them a second chance in this zoo, because obviously this zoo doesn't look like a kind of pre-built zoo that has been built from a plan or whatnot. This seems to be like a natural grown zoo from, I don't know, a research spot maybe. This could have been be a research spot, because obviously the only area you have as a zoo guest area is this area in front of here, and everything else is just reachable by staff pathing and also by the jeep tour, and that's about it. So they really keep the animals away from the people in terms of the whole layout, which is interesting in terms of what the scenario then will be all about. Yeah, well, let's move on to what Lisa says, because this is again very, very interesting.
Of the animals.
Weather's really impactful on animals as it is on us. And in Planet Zoo, we also bring that weather back in. So we have, you know, snow, we'll have rain, we'll have...
Okay. Stop it. Sorry, Lisa, I don't want to interrupt you again, but snow and rain is something really important to me, and I haven't spotted yet. Maybe we can do this in the video. The one thing I am looking on to or into is if guests have different clothing, because this for me is literally one of the most important bits. So what I like about this image over here, this, I don't know, is this a statue? I mean, that's definitely a statue over here, and I like how that the overall texture changes to snow. You can really, that's like the first look into actual snow happening, which is really looking awesome. You can see like the little wolves over here, they also seem to have like a little bit of a whitish fur now. They don't seem to care too much about it being snowing, because they seem to like snow. That's
we'll have really hot temperatures, really cold temperatures, and it's really important.
Oops, I just want to go a bit into this again. So what I actually love about this picture over here are 2 things, and again, it's way too far in the background and the quality of the video is not good enough to really tell something about this. But if we go and have a look to this side over here, you can clearly tell that there are like a bunch of guests over here, and they all seem to have like umbrellas, I don't know, and also I really love how you have some puddles over here. It's just not like a texture, it seems to be really having puddles, which I love, because this will also affect the animals then, as Lisa said, and also like the rain droplets here on the water. They don't seem to be repetitive. It really seems to be really nice. And you know what I also thought about is the benches where people can sit down to relax. I don't know if they also are affected by the weather. I'm pretty sure they are, but if you kind of build a shed above them, if people are then likely to use them to hide away from the rain, that'd be awesome to see. Anyways, I just wanted to spot or highlight this area over here that people seem to have umbrellas.
Really cold temperatures, and it's really important.
So as she said, we have hot and cold temperatures. This is also why I wanted to look so much into if there is really a different clothing of guests, because I mean, come on, that's really important for us to have. Anyways, I just shut up for the next bits again, and let's listen again to Lisa.
Important for us that the animals also respond to these changes in their environment as they would in real life.
animals will sometimes interact with their surroundings. The African elephant is a great example of when it preens itself, it'll throw a lovely cloud of dust over its head. And we have systems that know what terrain the animal is on. So if it's in water, it'll spray water over its back. If it's in snow, it's going to throw some snow over its head. The animals need to be able to get around their environment in a believable way, and that environment can be anything. It's hard enough authoring an animation set for characters when you can control the environment, but when you can't anticipate what the player's going to build. We had to build a lot of tech into our pipeline to deal with any situation, and that includes, walking, swimming, jumping.
The environments in Planet Zoo are the most detailed we've ever created in the sound department. We have things like specific birds for
Okay, before we go into the sound department, I wanted to point out what has been said now earlier on. So I think what is also a great achievement is what I just was talking about with Jurassic World Evolution, that the dinosaurs are not only roaming around in a preset environment like it has been, for example, in Zoo Tycoon, which also was made by Frontier, but this has been for a different sake. The animals are roaming around in a free environment, and it's going to be even more crazy. Let's put it another way. It's going to be a million times more crazy than in Jurassic World Evolution, because one of the biggest complaints about Jurassic World Evolution to date is that you are actually leaking or missing a lot of creative tools. You do have a brush, obviously, to paint some trees and stuff. You do have now with the new options some scenery items, but just a few of them. But in Planet Zoo, you will basically be able to make anything you want with your enclosure. You can make steep hills, you can make little caves, you can make bumps, you can make grass, you can make whatever you want, you can make forests, you can make, I don't know, everything. You can even put houses in there. You can make these animals live in a overgrown New York, and that's me giving away one of my ideas already. Anyways, there's a whole lot of stuff to do in this area and in this area of the game, and then just realizing how much of an effect this all has to the animals, and that they do behave in a way that they act together with everything you've created. For me, I don't know how good this will be realized in the end, but let alone this fact just shows me how far we've gotten in computer games in general, and this seems to be very, very promising. Okay, now let's just have a look into the various little kind of shots we have over here. There's not too, I could now go in and analyze everything, but I think most of it has been seen now a lot of times already. It's just, I don't know, the little hippo puppy could be pointed out because we haven't seen too much of the footage of it now. But yeah, well, just go on. This might be a bit more interesting over here. So this is from the very first screenshot we ever had of Planet Zoo. The viewing gallery on top here, that was back then when we were still wondering if this was a viewing point and if people will be able to watch from normal paths, or if it is in Jurassic World Evolution where you only have the viewing galleries, but it's for a long time already confirmed that they can basically look into the environment of the into the enclosures when there is free sight. So actually that's pretty cool. But what you can see here is as well, again, how nicely done this is with a little bit of a different tint over here. The animal is wet on the little bit the lower part of the trunk, and also on the legs, while the other ones are fairly dry. So that's awesome to see, because I love this kind of realism, and it looks super awesome. Also, you can here see the bear swimming in its enclosure, while the water seems to be very dirty. And indeed, and this is something I have no clue if I'm now going too much into guessing game here, but we've seen potentially this enclosure most of the times in old screenshots. I think this is the enclosure that has been shown the most. And what is so special about that is the fact that the overall soil and the ground texture and stuff like that has been changed in every single screenshot. And I'm wondering if there is, for example, if Lisa was talking about hot and cold temperatures, do we have a dry period, for example? So if we have a dry period, is it then becoming a lot more dry by the animals running around in this area all of the time? Because this looks fairly like a used area where the animals just roam around the whole time, and that's because it's all drying out then. So maybe these things we've seen with the wire connected are then also kind of sprinklers and stuff to make sure that this whole area is not going to be dried out. Honestly, this would be the cherry on the cake, I don't know, this would be the most important thing for me to say, yes, this is like really a game breaker. This is insane, because then it would not be enough to only use your kind of terrain tools and just paint the perfect environment once and then you're all said and done, because then your animals will potentially love it for ever and always, and you're pretty much done. So no, potentially when there has been more rain than forecasted, you may want to go in and make sure that there's a lot more dry soil for your animals back then and not too much mud. However, on the other hand side, if there's like a really like a dry period, for example, you must make sure that your animals have some more grass and some more nice wetland or whatnot. So I think this would be cool, because this would guarantee that you have to take care of the environments of your animals at all times and not only once. So I really hope that this is already a little bit of a gasp.
Walking, swimming, jumping.
The environments in Planet Zoo are the most detailed we've ever created in the sound department. We have things like specific birds for specific biomes. On the temperate biome, you hear birds you would hear in that environment. When the temperature rises, you hear more crickets. When it starts snowing, a lot of those sounds become muffled. In the rain, you'll hear impact of rain on all the different surfaces, underneath trees, on the water surface. You even get a different soundscape when you put the camera on the water. So we really wanted your creativity of an environment to be reflected in the sounds you hear.
Animals are very, very, very specific in terms of the audio. If you go to the wild, an animal will not make actually a lot of the sounds, but in the game we want to actually translate that into a form that it's interesting. All the sounds.
Okay, I need to stop here. Because I think this is something I can tell now, because I wasn't allowed to tell this, because obviously this hasn't been part of our studio visit within the room, but we've seen how this has been created, how these sounds have been. In fact, when we've been to the studio, this is James Stant, by the way, one of the awesome audio designers at Frontier Developments, and he's been there making the zebra sounds of their hooves actually going. I love this because hooves is kind of my area, right? And I was loving this, and I wanted to point this out now, because look at how he creates those sounds. It's hilarious, but it's working and it's awesome.
Are not unique to the animal in terms of like communication. That's all made by the sound team. Planet Zoo.
So alright, before we have a look into here, this is actually like in the floor they have like multiple different soils, which is awesome, like stone, and as you can see here, this is like soil, and then they have also like wood and whatever, and then they use different kind of things to make those sounds, which is like so cool, like having the punching gloves and the coconuts, and they fill them up with some stuff. Since I have no idea if I'm allowed to talk about what, I just say they just fill them up, and that's fine. And then they have the microphone, which you can see basically here, hanging down here, and then there is someone else who's actually taking the sounds immediately to the animation. It's insane. It's really, really great, and I love that they really show this now. As you can see, they even put something else in this here to kind of show how the sounds transition once they step on something else. It's insane, and this is going to be translated into the game, and I can only tell you and guarantee you, because we've been able to hear that over there. I was freaking out. The clarity of the sounds is insane. It's so gorgeous. It's so good. You can even tell if there is an animal walking from, let's say, sand onto a stone ground, and you can even tell if only the first two hooves are on stone already, and then the last two are still on sand, and then they transition into full stone. It's just insane. And even though it's a minor detail, you might think, it adds so much to the simulation in the end. So it's really awesome.
That's all made by the sound team. Planet Zoo, again, that you can go from up in the sky to really close to the animal, and we really want that sound to come through.
The welfare of your animals is not just restricted to their environment and their needs, it also extends to their health. Now, one of the ways that modern zoos approach this problem is by maintaining a good genetic pool. And we've injected the same kind of system into Planet Zoo. And this system could affect...
Okay, before we go in, this is insane. Again, sorry, I'm repeating myself here, I know. But the genetic thing about this is not only because maintain a healthy genetic module system or set, this is going even deeper, and just let Lisa explain that because it's better than what I could do.
Affect your animal's longevity, their health, or even their appearance.
Something we want players to take away from this is to get a better understanding of the animals that are in zoos and animals that are in nature. So conservation plays a really important role.
All right, here you have it. Here you have it. I mean, it's just guessing what Matthew said over here, but as I explained in my video analyzing the scenario mode and what this will be about, I talked about the chance that we would have scenarios that are actually tackling real life, or like actually the wildlife in nature, instead of being in a zoo. So just for example, have the challenge to make sure that some of the animals living in a endangered environment are getting you have to restore their health and then release them back into the environment, and then you have to make sure that they don't get too much into contact with the actual zookeepers, for example. These kind of challenges could be so cool and help actually understand the real challenges of zoos nowadays. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing more I can add than just saying this is incredible. It's really, really cool.
If through this game we can highlight some of the key conservation issues and things that everybody should be aware of, then that just feels really good to be able to provide that, whilst also providing a really fun, exciting game.
What I think makes Planet Zoo
Okay. Sorry, before we let Lisa talk again, I think we just have to enjoy this wonderful overview of this one zoo we've been seeing so many times already. And yeah, I'm really slowly losing my words, because again, this video, and if you guys haven't been convinced about that they are going the right direction in terms of what kind of zoo game this is, I've heard actually a lot of voices telling me too much about the real issues about zoos and stuff, and maybe you're getting it all wrong from me now because you see my hype and you see me talking about all this kind of stuff, but I'm very aware of how animals are treated in, let's say, a high percentage of zoos in this world. So I'm fairly aware of the fact that there are many really bad zoos in this world, and I'm also pretty much convinced that kind of keeping animals in captivity in general is not a good thing. It's absolutely not a good thing. However, if you look deeper into the challenges and why things are the way they are in modern zoos, and I think you can actually also translate the word modern zoo, because Frontier uses the term quite often, like they talk a lot about modern zoos, but I think you can also translate it with like good zoos, if that makes sense, like really zoos that are looking forward to make sure that the life circumstances of their animals is really good, but also with their work they are making sure to have really great research in place to help the actual wildlife, to make sure it's conserved, to make sure that it's preserved, and also to make sure that in the future these animals are not suffering as much as they do right now in the real world. So there's a lot going on, and from all the interviews and all the stuff we are getting from Planet Zoo, you can really tell that this game is going into exactly the right direction to make sure that people learn about all these things, rather than being, let's say, upset because we are able to have digital animals kept in captivity. This is not the point about it, but I don't want to go too deep into it. I just wanted to repeat that while they have been making some really good points in here, that the game is being super awesome about that. So let's go on.
really unique is the amount of attention to detail. So we're not just looking at, the bare statistics of how do you take care of an animal. We're also looking at how do you make sure that animals...
Can I just point out that whoever cut this video is doing a hilarious job to emphasize this pun over here. Just have a look and listen.
Just looking at, the bare statistics of how do you take care of an animal. We're also looking at...
So, is this... Seriously, we are not... Listen again what she said. Look at this. Oh wait, I need to... That's a little bit fun. I love this.
Attention to detail.
Watch out.
So we're not just looking at, the bare statistics of how do you take...
So she's not looking into the bear statistics, and now look what the bear is doing.
Care of an animal. We're also looking at how do you make sure...
Okay, this is... I don't know, but seriously, that's hilarious. Okay, I don't know what to say, but Jesus, that, like, I can't imagine how much fun they had cutting this, because that just fits so perfectly fine. One thing I wanted to point out, it just, you know, kept my attention now for a second. I know these guys over here. The reason why I'm pointing that out, as I said, I was actually looking still into what the clothing is be like. I'm not sure what exactly they're wearing over here, but it could be something longer. Like, I'm still searching for evidence that there is different clothing than in Planet Coaster. And if I look to the left-hand side over here, it looks pretty much the same.
Of how
Can't really tell.
how do you take care of an animal? We're also
Okay, we just go a little bit further now before I keep on talking about that topic and listen to what Lisa has to say again.
We're also looking at how do you make sure that animal's happy? How do we make sure that the management is fun? How do we make sure that the educational value is there? How do we make sure that our creativity...
Okay. Did I say okay? So, wow. Okay, now, this bit over here, when I was first seeing this video, it blew me away. Even my wife, who's not too much into it yet, I have to say yet, I'll get her in, don't worry. Just look at the behavior of the lion again.
We're also looking at how do you make sure that animal's happy? How do we make sure that the management is fun?
Okay, so, what should I even say? This bit over here is potentially one of the cool things about the game I've seen yet. This little puppy is really playing with his dad and kind of, you know, having this little bit of a play with him. So just stepping back to, or going back to what I just said earlier, that in Jurassic World Evolution there has been a little bit of a feeling that some kind of interactions between those animals has been a bit staged. This felt so natural seeing that over here. Obviously, yes, if you only showed me the killing animation of the Velociraptor, what kind of animal is that even? The Velociraptor. I would have said that maybe at the first point as well, but you know, we also saw the chimpanzees cleaning each other and stuff. So there's a whole lot more of interaction going on between the animals, which for me personally is super awesome. And now seeing this in place, and I'm wondering how many different animations they may have of playing. God, this is so damn incredible. And now, the next bit I have to look into is this one over here. I hope we can catch what I wanted to see. We need to play a little bit further on. There we go. Okay, I can't really tell if this is... Oh god, this will be a hard one. So we have the guests back here, and they're having... Definitely they're having umbrellas. So it's snowy, and they're having umbrellas. Let me just see what happens. If I just click one more... Okay. So our... Okay, well, the first thing I see is that our zookeeper seems to have still summer, right? Okay, that was one too far. Just let's move it a little bit back here. Here we go. Yeah, this gal over here definitely has still a shirt on, I guess. Alright, so I don't really know if it's no artificial snow. You can even see the snow on the lanterns, which is awesome. I am really curious to know that, guys. Maybe we can...
That the educational value...
I don't know if we are able to do this. I think not. I will do a little bit of a deeper analysis if I can, but for the moment we just have to assume that this is the same clothing they have. Like, it's hard to guess, but this looks already like a little shirt that this little girl has on here, and this could also be very well a shirt. But maybe they're still working on it, I don't know, but if not, that'll be a shame. Yeah, but let's just hope for it. This could also be like an orangey jacket. I don't know. Anyways, let's listen for a bit again, and then we talk about the next bit.
How do we make sure that our creativity is meaningful? And I think combining those three, the management, the education, and the creativity, is the thing that really makes Planet Zoo unique. And I hope that that entire journey becomes really meaningful to all the players, so that you're not just looking after some computer-generated images, you're looking after some actual animals that are living and breathing in your own zoo. And I hope that's what everyone has a lot of fun with.
Okay guys, that's it of this video, and I think I'm really confident to say that there is a lot of great info in here we haven't had beforehand. So yeah, the whole talk about, and I'm just going back to this wonderful lion scene because I'm just loving it too freaking much. I'm just quickly capturing a few screenshots here and there. It is just insane. I mean, look at this wonderful little play scene here. I don't know. I could just watch this all over the whole time. I'm just sorry that I did just put all these images in now. I just also love how the bear is just laughing its ass off here. Jesus, this is so hilarious. Anyways, let's just stick with this image for the rest of the video. Yeah, we've now heard about a lot of new things in terms of meaningful management. We've seen a lot of things that could be the way they are, but we don't know yet because they have been just a little bit hinting at it. But we know actually that there is a lot more of interaction between animals going on than we have seen before. We've seen a fighting scene between lions, maybe even for dominance. So this is also super interesting. We also have seen some interaction between a puppy and his dad, or her dad. We don't want to know whether it's male or female. We've seen that they're looking into swimming animations. We've seen so many great things about the animation in general. We've heard about a lot of stuff regarding the audio, which is also super awesome to talk about. We've seen the new version of the peafowl, which is, oh my god, it's insane. It's really looking awesome. And yeah, there's just so much more to see in that game. Anyways, if you are still not happy enough with the doses of Planet Zoo and you still haven't seen my other videos, make sure to check out at the end of this video. There's also a link to my analysis of the scenario mode, how this will be shaped, how the attempt on that is, and many other things about Planet Zoo as well. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next episode. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet and you want to see the content here again, make sure to subscribe. You will be I won't let you down. There will be super awesome Planet Zoo content at all times. So yeah, guys, I think that's it from my side. Have a good day and see you next time. Bye.